Welcome to Spidey's 16th Minute. I'm so excited today. We are going to get lots of financial advice from Jason Tartick. And he was on The Bachelor. He was on The Bachelorette.
Yeah,
he was never The Bachelor.
He was never The Bachelor. He was a contestant on The Bachelorette, which I think it was Becca Kufrin's season. So I think season 14 of
Did
The
you
Bachelorette.
watch it?
You know, I'm not a big Bachelorette, Bachelor World girly. No.
I hate the Kardashians. I hate the Swifts. I hate Bachelorette. I love watching football.
We need to turn into a football podcast over here.
We are the Ringer. We should just pivot to sports.
I do love pop culture. I don't know why I never fell down the Bachelorette rabbit hole. I started, I think, when I was young. So I think I was too young to really watch it when it first came out. And I never got into it.
Us older
I love
people,
it. Yeah,
us older people were all grown up when it was when it came out.
It's so good. And then he dated Caitlin Bristow, but he's been very immersed in the Bachelor world, Bachelor Nation. I feel like he's one of the core Bachelor
like stars.
Yeah.
Starlets.
And in that group.
They
have like that group.
That's what I can't wait to ask him about, the clique.
Yes,
he seems like he's friends with everyone,
right.
You know.
So I can't wait to get the insights of that.
Ask him why Corinne was not welcome.
Why she wasn't invited to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And if he's going to go on Paradise.
Ooh.
He needs to run it back right now and just go in.
He should be the Bachelor.
Oh.
I got a pitch.
You want to bet he's
so
done with
good.
reality TV?
He would be so good.
Well, if you look at the back of his book, it says he just taking a career detour into reality television, not. So he's calling detours usually you just and then you get back on track in your path.
I mean,
so.
he was into like money, and he seems to like be on that money grind
and
again.
There's no money in reality TV, so.
We're so excited. We have Jason here. He has an incredible book out, great money tips on a book tour. Jason, how is the book going and how is the book tour?
The book is great. It's such a timely thing right now because I do think a lot of people in this country are hurting a little bit when it comes to spending and earnings and just what's happening in personal finance. And we know with love, there are some issues with divorce rates and relationship success. So marrying the two has been really fun and hopefully will be pretty impactful. And with the book tour, it's been fun. So our first stop is actually tonight in Seattle. We're going to Seattle, Denver, Austin, Delray, Chicago, Philly, Boston. I think we're going to add New York and Nashville, and it's all been sponsored by Capital One, which is cool. But what we're doing is this is a finance book and it's in a damn bank and there's no booze allowed. So I'm I got to make this thing fun. So what we're doing is we're creating everyone that enters is in the game, and we're creating a game that's like Squid Game's challenge meets traders, and there will be one victor at the end of the game. So we're making it kind of like a show, which is cool too.
That's so great. Can you do shots before people enter?
I was going to say, does the victor get to go drinking with you after, like a little bachelor
I mean, we're going to be drinking before and after. It's just in the bank, we're not allowed to. So
that's so funny. What's your drink of choice?
I mean, if I'm going to a nice dinner, I'd like a Kettle One martini on the rocks with some olives. That's going to be my go-to.
What is a cheaper version for people or more expensive if they want to upscale or downscale?
Oh, that's a good question. And I also want to turn it on you. I'm curious what your question. I would say the cheaper version of that, get a Tito soda. And also, I'm not a snob. I'll drink Labatt Blue Light. I'll drink Coors Light. Give me light beers. I'll take those too. How about you guys? What's your go-to cocktail?
I'm a snob.
Yeah.
I'm going to be drinking champagne, some expensive, biodynamic, non-GMO wine, or some really high-end tequila and a skinny margarita.
From your book about entertainment, the variables of trying to cut back, I would say high-end alcohol is one of those things that if we were to be balancing the books a little bit better. But then here's the thing. Our logic is drinking these higher quality alcohols helps our next day functioning, being, so our output our volume of success, we're increasing by planning for the future. See that?
I love that breakdown. That's incredible. That's interesting. Like they're saying that industry, like the alcohol industry right now, consumption is down, but even Gen Zers, everyone's going for like this super high quality, expensive stuff. I don't know if it's because it's like a show thing, a material thing at like the clubs or at parties, but they're saying like high quality alcohol, like the premiums are like tearing off, which is why like Patron now has like an El Alto. They have like a 42 competitor. So it's crazy to see that's a huge thing that's changing.
I have a question, very serious thought here. When I think of the Bachelor franchise, I would say based off of all the media I see that you're one of the more liked everybody, you're friends with everybody, you get along. Are all these people, do you have a group chat where you're do they use you as a resource to try to now help them financially, or do they appreciate your background in finance, or they just don't get because if I had somebody like you that was one of my friends, like my friends block me because I ask them so many questions about they'll be like, dude, like hire somebody. So do you get that, or people just like treat you just like one of the buddies and they don't understand how much you could help all these people, or like, how does that work?
Yeah. It's funny. I came off the show and I'm learning just all about how people are making money in entertainment. And as you guys know, there are so many which ways to do it. And it's a wild space out there. But one thing I started doing in 2018 was like talking very, very openly about the money I was making from doing certain stuff. So I would have like a post for a weighted blanket and I would talk openly about it. And when I was monetizing at a certain level, I would talk openly about it. And the transparency actually allowed people to connect with me because they're like, wait, I wasn't making that much. How did you do that? And then what I realized is that there's a huge opportunity in this space to really help creators and people that are in the public light to monetize at a faster pace. So about 4 years ago, I actually started a talent management company. And so we've been growing 2x every single year. But with the people I work with, not only do we talk about how can you monetize at the highest level, build your brand and differentiate, but we talk about like, are you properly structured with your LLC or S Corp? And are you utilizing the right investments for vehicle resources for retirement? So it kind of hits everything A to Z.
And are you wanting to go back on reality TV, or are you going to stick with finance and management? How are you feeling about that transition?
Because we want you to be the Bachelor.
Yeah, we think you should be the Bachelor. Are you single?
That's hilarious. The last time the show talked to me about being the Bachelor was 2018. So I don't think they're, and I joke around now, I'm like, if there's any chance at that, I think I'm going to be like the Golden Bachelor, if anything. But I want to go on like a competition show. Like I want to go on, like I say, like Traders, I would love to go on, like a Big Brother. I would see it like a different side of me. And then, in some of those competition shows, dating happens, so you never know. But like, I think competition shows my play.
Are you single?
I am. You know what I'm doing right now? I'm keeping my dating. Let me tell you what I'm doing right now. I have decided in 2024 that all aspects of my dating life, at least for now, and this interview's in March, I'm just keeping private. Because there's no, like right now, coming out of my past relationship, and then like that becomes the center of conversation with everything. And it feels like no matter which way I step, there's going to be something. So right now I'm kind of keeping the whole dating thing private until like there is, and if there will be like something that makes sense and I feel ready. But right now I'm kind of keeping that game private.
Okay, well,
but
if
I decide I'm going to open it up, I'll come talk to you guys.
We have
someone for you. That's why we're really asking. We have someone for you. And I'm going to take that as single.
Yeah.
She is smart, beautiful, young, publicly has a crush on you. And actually
she was our podcast guest, and she brought you up, said that one of her fans messages her every day for over 2 years that she should date you. And she heard that you were coming on the podcast, and she pretty much set it up.
Yep.
So I don't know if you've ever seen Siesta Key, which was one of our favorite shows, but she was the lead narrator of the show, and she's a businesswoman. She's celebrating 3 years of having her own company yesterday. So a lot of money-minded energy there.
Her name's Juliet Porter. You can check her out. She lives in Miami, and she's very interested in you.
She acted like she would move. She thought you lived in Nashville. She acted like she was ready to catch a flight, too. She was like, she didn't have it. So this was very real. You can watch it.
I think she's 24.
26,
maybe?
26.
You guys are really setting this up.
You guys are starting a podcast. You guys are going to be like the new, like Love is Blind is taking off. The Bachelor's taking off. Now it's going to be Heidi and Spencer have their own dating mat. And like people got to come on and then you got to like tell us if we get the rose or not. Like I think you're on to something here. You know what's funny though? It's interesting you said that. Because I got to talk, I wish usually my manager's here. He's a business partner manager. Usually he's here. I think we've been trying to get Juliet on the podcast for a while because she has like an incredible, I think it's a bathing suit line. And I don't think she's even accepted one of our invites.
Well, I think she wants a date. I think I'll start with the date.
I think she doesn't want your manager reaching out. I think she wants a direct connection. So if you DM her, I think you need to DM her. Ask her to come on the podcast and then be like, hey, and if you're around after, I'd love to grab drinks.
She actually needs a manager to help her too. With you. She could probably join your company and you could 2X her business.
Jason, I'm blushing for you.
Have you guys had success in this before? Have you done this before?
This was our first guest that asked us. This is all organic.
I did joke though that this should be like a new thing that we do, but yeah, we've never done this. We actually mentioned you because she was saying that she was single, or she brought you up actually, and that was the segue for it. Because
I'm a little more curious on you. Did you say someone for 2 years was messaging her? Did you say that?
Yeah, somebody has been, and I jokingly said it was you on a Finsta, you know.
Finsta. When anyone says Finsta, the first thing I do, I go to my Instagram. I show them the three logins I have because you know how people do
you
Finstas.
You have a burner phone, though. You wouldn't.
I don't have no burner phone and no Finsta. Trading Secrets, Ramen and Pinot page, and my page. Those are the 3 pages I'm logged into.
You're still logged into your ex and your dog page.
Yeah, well, we co-parent our dogs, right? Wow. So we co-own them, and that page I'm still logged into. I haven't posted on it in a while, but yeah,
you should just take that page over to start posting wild content.
What should I post on? Should I post like the dogs with a book? What should I post in
your full marketing? Just change your
put your book on there. Yeah, exactly. I'm so interested when people continue to co-parent dogs because I love dogs and I'm a dog person, and at the same time, like I don't think I'd want to be tied to my ex, but maybe not. Maybe that's like how is that?
I love dogs, but I literally be like, take the dog. I never want to see this dog's face. It's connected to your face, and you just take this dog to another state. So that's pretty cool. You guys are mature, or whatever the word is.
Yeah. How did that come about? Were you like, I can't be without this dog, or like what happens?
There's a lot of cute golden retrievers out there. I can get you a new
I
noodles.
think I might call you guys weekly, and you guys can be like my life mentors. Like, tell me everything. But with the dogs, it was. I think if I go back to like right when the breakup happened, you think about life and just like big things that happen, and you mentally and even physically can only like handle so much, right? Like everyone has their threshold. And so when the breakup happened, the concept of not having the dogs in my life, I was already in a position where I was like broken. If I couldn't have the dogs, I would have, I don't know what I would have, so I couldn't even conceptualize that. So then, you fast forward 9 months later, you go through grieving and healing, you're at a new chapter of your life. And, you start to think, okay, a little bit more logically than emotionally. And I think it's probably, to your point, Spencer, it's I think my therapist would probably agree with you too. And many of the people in my life would. Like, it's not healthy. Like, the idea of staying, like, still connecting like through the dogs probably isn't healthy as you're going about life. But I'm so in love with those dogs, and so is she, that we have found a way to currently make it work. And right now it does. And, future can of course change that, shift that. You never know what tomorrow brings, but so far it's worked. And it's different. And most people tell us we shouldn't be doing it this way just for our own mental sanity. But here we are.
Is it part of financial thing? Did you put half the money down for these dogs? Is this like go back to the book?
What's funny is in the book, I open up about the first 2 chapters, Talk Money to Me, are all about mistakes I made, things that I did incorrectly. And I talk a lot about the fact, and I don't do it like I talk about my resume and business only to establish the fact that, to build credibility, to say, like, okay, here's a guy who was in banking, MBA in accounting and finance, has lent hundreds of millions of dollars and stuff. And I say that to be like, this was my personal finance, and finance is the forefront of what I do. And even I got kind of lost in not doing the right things to set myself and ourselves up for success. And even with the dogs, I talk about in the first couple chapters, we didn't even have a contract in place for the dogs. Like we still don't have a contract in place. So and I talk about in the book, like, all different things. When you have assets over a certain dollar amount, I talk very extensively about post-nups, pre-nups, and a lot of the things that I talk about are lessons that I learned from. So didn't even have a contract for the dogs, a handshake agreement,
that would
which
be a little,
situations.
I don't think that's crazy. I think that in dating, if somebody hits you with a contract when you're buying a dog, like, if that's a weird balance, it's probably the right thing to do, but I'm not sure that, like,
but you should have but like, you would be, trust me, because I've done research on this, you'd be very surprised at how many attorneys out there make the entirety of their careers and living off custody and ownership of dogs. Like, it's wild. So I would say that if you do, like, unfortunately, like, dogs are the best thing in the planet, but the law unfortunately does look at them like an asset. And so when you have so much love and care for something, the idea of just, putting up a simple agreement of like, hey, this is what should happen or will happen, or who owns it or who's responsible for costs, is something I could tell you those attorneys, when you talk to them, or if you talk to them, would tell you many people should have done.
Wow. It also becomes, is the dog a symbol, right? Like, is the dog a symbol of your love and something that you can argue over? It's also hard because we have dogs and we love dogs, and we know that companionship that is so loyal, and obviously they can't vouch for themselves like children, but it also seems like at a time you got to kind of cut your losses or move forward or figure out the balance. You can't.
No.
You would keep the dog? What would you do?
I would do what Jason's doing. I can't not see my dog. Like, I love my dog. But Jason, I'm Chelsea. I don't know if you just could see my legs, but
yeah, I'm Chelsea. I see you.
She's in the frame.
Yeah. So I am getting married in a couple of weeks, and you mentioned a prenup and a postnup, and I was curious about this. Like, I'm no J-Lo and Ben Affleck, or we don't have that type of money. Are prenups necessary for couples that are just everyday folks, everyday Americans that, work corporate jobs and whatnot, like, that don't have a lot of assets, that maybe even haven't bought a home yet? Like, what do you suggest people, like, every marriage should have a prenup?
Yeah, so I think, like, even if we take the idea of prenup and then we back into it, right? So the concept of prenup also connects to, which is the title of the book, which is Talk Money to Me. And I'm gonna get to your question, but I'm gonna do it in kind of like a step-by-step approach. We know that right now, married and cohabitating couples just are not talking about money. So 50% of them don't even feel comfortable. And then we do know that when they do have these conversations, or don't, 73% of couples in a Harvard study said that money is a massive point of contention in their relationship talked about or not talked about. And then half of those people said that it impacts your intimacy. So I say that because we also know that the second leading reason for divorce are money arguments behind infidelity. The whole overarching theme is we, in so many capacities, talk about red flags and know how to identify issues and even talk through issues and talk through our feelings. The thing with money is it's not that we can't identify red flags. We don't even know where red flags are because everyone is hiding, deceiving, or don't know how to talk about them. And in relationships, the statistic is crazy. 43% of married or cohabitating couples in the United States have some form of financial infidelity, which is cheating through money. So the idea of a prenup is, in my opinion, it's a beautiful opportunity to say, hey, we know relationships that don't openly talk about money and what the system will be and what it will look like are failing in miserable ways. Let's use this as an opportunity to just talk about what it would look like, because we know divorce rate's 50%. And the other thing about prenups is every single person listening to this podcast that is married, you have a prenup whether you know it or not. And what that prenup is your state laws. Every state has different laws. So they give you a generic cookie cutter set of laws that this is what will happen with assets once and if there is a potential divorce. And the laws in Florida are different than the laws in California. So my take is talk to your partner and loved one about what the state laws are, and then see if it makes sense to customize the contract to make it what's best for you. And with postnups, if you are married, the biggest area of opportunity for postnups is that there is a partner in the relationship that is not working because they're bringing value to the family in other ways. They are, as we know, jeopardizing what their future income will be for the value of the family. The issue is if there is a divorce in that family, that partner is in a tough position because their career is not accelerated. They've provided value in ways that is not dollar inflows, and they're kind of set up for a little bit of a nightmare. So the idea of postnups is a great opportunity to talk about what would it look like if it happened, and you can get more specific with postnups too. And I'm a big believer in both.
So a postnup is after you're married, and then you get a contract.
We know somebody who didn't sign their postnup, and that became a big problem in their marriage.
Who?
Oh, I'm not going to forget it.
Spencer, I have two for you. On the podcast Trading Secrets, we had Angelina from Jersey Shore, and she thought her prenup was signed and executed because verbally she was told, but she didn't check the contract. It wasn't signed. She paid the piper.
Oh.
Another one, like the financial fraud stuff is absolutely crazy. There was someone who came on my podcast, Alex Bennett, and she married into a multi-billion-dollar family. And she's like, talking money to me was kind of tough. It was weird, but they just didn't say that I needed to sign a prenup, so I just let it go. Well, what happened in that circumstance is because she didn't do her due diligence, because she didn't talk about it, which she openly discusses, what happened was, my understanding is the money that was in his name was in a trust. And on paper, he actually didn't have much earnings. So she out-earned him on paper, and his assets were in a trust. So when they got divorced, she had to actually pay the billionaire, right? And these things happen in these examples, and I'm not sure where they settled on that, so you'd have to go. But like according to law, if it was executed that way, she would have had to pay. These examples happen all the time. I talk about some of them in my book too. I asked people, I said, tell me about financial fraud you've dealt with or that someone's dealt with in relationships. We had thousands of inquiries, and the one that I put in my book is this hardworking, she went by the name of Jane Doak. She didn't want to give her identity out, but she's working her tail off, making money, but her husband was making more, but her husband's credit wasn't great. So they got a mortgage under her name. And the husband said, I'll just pay you because money's coming in. You see that? I'll just Venmo it to you. And then on the deed, they put his name and her name. The day they closed on the property, the IRS sent a letter and said, we now own your home because your husband, who's on the deed, has back taxes that she never knew about. And she had to pay it off. They got divorced, ended up having to pay off all of his IRS back taxes. So these are things happening every day, and through due diligence and conversations, like they can proactively be addressed.
So if you were advising the Bachelor producers, would that be a storyline in the new episodes of the franchise where the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, they have these talks about money? And do you think on Love is Blind, is this a big missing, because there's so much drama connected to it that's not being, this is good TV.